Okay, so get the you sent us this research about dogs and ear infections.
Uh-huh.
And it looks like what a mother dog eats while she's pregnant and what a puppy eats for like the first few months
Yeah.
could impact their chances of getting ear infections like way later in life.
Wow.
Diet plays a huge role.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so let's unpack all of this with expert speaker here and see what it means for you and your furry friends.
Well, what I think is fascinating about this research is the focus on what we call developmental origins of health and disease,
Okay.
or
The
DUHOD.
hod.
DUHOD for short.
Diet.
And it's this idea that early life experiences, especially diet, can set the stage for long-term health.
So it's like giving your puppy a head start in the health department right from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Think of it like building a house.
Okay.
If the foundation is weak, you might not see problems right away, but eventually cracks will start to show.
Right.
And the study suggests that a similar thing might be happening with puppies and their developing immune systems.
So we're talking about more than just puppies getting an upset stomach from eating something bad.
Right?
This is about their long-term health, even before they're born.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, so let's zoom in on this DOHAD concept for a minute.
Okay.
The study looked at otitis,
Right.
which is the fancy medical term for ear infection.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier that it's not just an outer ear thing.
No, you're right. It's not.
Okay.
Otitis can actually involve the middle and inner ear too,
Wow.
which can really affect a dog's overall well-being.
Really?
And here's something that might surprise you.
Okay.
According to a Finnish study, the prevalence of otitis in Europe is somewhere between 8.7 and 20%.
Wow.
That's almost 1 in 5 dogs
So that's a lot.
dealing with ear problems. So it's clearly a widespread issue that deserves our attention.
1 in 5, that is a lot of dogs.
It is.
And I bet it's not always an easy fix either.
Yeah.
You know, we all think about those cute breeds like Basset Hounds and Cocker Spaniels with their adorable droopy ears.
Ah.
And then all those fluffy pups with the hair in their ears.
Right.
They always seem to be dealing with ear issues.
You're absolutely right. Certain breeds are definitely more prone to ear infections.
Right.
And the study does acknowledge that, but their primary focus is really on this DOHAD concept.
Okay.
They wanted to understand how much of a dog's ear health is determined by genetics versus their environment and especially their diet.
That's such a crucial question. Are
Uh-huh.
some dogs just born unlucky when it comes to ear health, or can we actually do something to help them out?
Right, and that's what makes this research so exciting.
Okay.
They looked at 2 specific types of diets.
Okay.
A raw meat-based diet, which the study calls NPMD,
Okay.
and then a highly processed carbohydrate-heavy diet that's your typical kibble, which they call UPCD.
Okay, so raw food versus kibble.
Exactly.
That's a hot topic for a lot of dog owners these days.
It is.
So is there a clear winner?
The results are pretty compelling. The study found that feeding puppies a non-processed meat-based diet, that NPMD during both pregnancy and puppyhood from 2 to 6 months of age, was linked to a lower risk of otitis later in life.
Okay.
On the other hand, the puppies who ate mostly the ultra-processed carbohydrate-based diet, the UPCD, they had a higher risk of developing ear problems.
So the raw-fed pups had a bit of an advantage when it comes to ear health.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the nitty-gritty details, though, of the diet.
Yeah.
Did they find that even a little bit of raw food made a difference, or was it more of an all-or-nothing kind of thing?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
They actually found that even when the puppy's diet was only 26 to 50% raw food, that NPMD, they still showed some benefit.
Wow.
But on the flip side, when the puppies ate a diet that was 76 to 100% kibble, that UPCD, that's when the problems really started to show up.
So those diet choices really do matter.
They do.
But why would diet make such a big difference, especially during those first few months of a puppy's life?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. A puppy's immune system is still developing up to about 6 months of age.
Okay.
Think of it like a delicate dance between genetics and environment.
So what we feed our puppies during that time can actually influence how their immune systems develop.
Absolutely.
That seems like a pretty big deal.
It is. There are a few key things happening here.
Okay.
First, we have to consider what's going on even before the puppy is born.
Okay.
The mother's diet during pregnancy directly affects how the fetus develops, including the thymus, which is a really important part of the immune system.
So just like that house analogy, a strong immune system starts with the right building blocks,
Exactly.
even before the puppy is born.
Right. So the mother's diet lays the foundation.
Right.
But then we have to consider the amazing world of the microbiome.
Okay, the microbiome.
Yes.
Can you break that down for us in simple terms?
Absolutely. Think of your dog's gut as a bustling city with trillions of tiny residents called microbes.
Okay.
These microbes are all working together. And they play a huge role in digestion, immunity, and even overall health.
Gotcha.
Now, the food you give your dog is like setting the city's zoning laws.
Okay.
It determines which microbes thrive and which ones struggle.
So what I feed my dog can actually change the balance of bacteria in their gut.
Exactly. And get this, research is showing that the gut microbiome is connected to immune function and even inflammation in parts of the body far away from the gut. Like
Yeah.
you guessed it, the ears.
Wow. It's like everything is connected.
It is.
So a healthy gut can actually lead to healthy ears.
It really highlights the importance of thinking about our dog's health holistically.
And then there's this whole other layer of complexity called epigenetics.
Yes.
That sounds a little intimidating.
It might sound complex, but it's actually a pretty simple concept.
Okay.
Think of your dog's genes as a light switch.
Okay.
Epigenetics is like the dimmer switch that controls how bright the light shines.
Okay.
It determines which genes are turned on or off, or how strongly they're expressed. And what's fascinating is that environmental factors, including diet, can actually influence how those dimmer switches are set.
So are we saying that what a dog eats can actually change how their genes work?
In a way, yes, and some of those changes can even be passed down to future generations.
Wow, that really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about the individual dog, it's about their offspring too.
All right.
So if those early months are so crucial for shaping a puppy's immune system, are there other factors aside from diet that dog owners should be aware of?
The study also uncovered a few other interesting findings.
Okay.
For example, puppies who stayed in the same family they were born into had a lower risk of developing otitis.
That's interesting. So are we saying that early socialization is even more important than we thought?
Well, it's thought to be related to the shared microbiome and environment.
Okay.
Puppies who stay with their litter mates and mother are constantly exchanging microbes, which could help them build a more resilient immune system.
So those early social interactions could be playing a role in their long-term health.
Yeah.
Fascinating. What else did the study find?
They also found that sunlight exposure, at least an hour per day, seemed to offer some protection against otitis.
Sunshine, good for humans, good for dogs.
Right.
But what's the connection to ear health?
It could be related to vitamin D production, which is stimulated by sunlight, and its role in immune function.
Okay, so sunshine, a balanced gut microbiome, and a good diet.
Right.
It all comes back to a healthy immune system.
It really does.
It's amazing how everything seems to tie together.
It does. And here's one more interesting tidbit. Puppies raised on dirt or lawn seem to have a slight advantage as well.
So are we saying that letting our dogs play in the mud is good for them?
Well, it does highlight the potential benefits of exposure to environmental microbes.
Interesting.
Living in a completely sterile environment might not be the best thing for developing a strong immune system.
This is all so interesting.
It is.
So if I'm a dog owner or thinking about getting a puppy, what are the key takeaways from this deep dive?
I think the biggest takeaway is that what you feed your dog isn't just about their appearance or convenience.
Right.
It's about setting them up for a lifetime of good health.
And those early months are especially critical. What a puppy eats during that time can have lasting consequences for better or worse
Yes.
for their immune system.
Absolutely.
This is giving me a lot to consider for my own dog.
Good.
Okay, so we've talked about why diet matters so much for ear health. But what about the how?
Yes.
What can dog owners actually do with this information? We'll explore that in part 2.
You know, it's interesting. This study focused on dogs,
Right.
but there's growing evidence that these same ideas about early diet and development could apply to humans too.
Wait, are you saying that what we feed babies could affect their chances of getting ear infections later on?
It's possible.
I mean, we all know breast milk is best, but this is taking things to a whole new level.
Think about it. The
Yeah.
human microbiome is incredibly complex, and we're only just beginning to understand how much it impacts our health. Early nutrition plays a huge role in shaping that microbial community. So it makes sense that those early exposures could have long-lasting effects.
It's almost like we're setting the stage for our health from the moment we're born.
And maybe even before?
Yeah, and maybe even before.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so we've covered the why diet matters so much for ear health.
Right.
But let's get practical for a minute. What does all of this actually mean for dog owners?
Okay.
What can they do with this information?
Well, if we connect this back to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the study authors suggest that vets, breeders, and owners can all work together to reduce the risk of otitis in dogs.
Okay.
And diet is a big part of that equation.
So choosing the right food for your dog isn't just about taste or convenience. It's a health decision with long-term consequences.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the puppy's diet, it's about what the mother dog eats during pregnancy, too.
So those prenatal months are crucial, kind of like setting the stage for the puppy's immune system.
Precisely. If you're a breeder or planning to breed your dog, this study really highlights the importance of a healthy, balanced diet during pregnancy.
And for those of us who already have puppies, it sounds like those first 6 months are a critical window.
They are. This raises an important question about what type of diet is best.
Right?
The study looked at raw food versus processed food,
Uh-huh.
that NPMD versus the UPCD,
Right.
but there are so many different options out there.
Right. From kibble to homemade meals to those fancy freeze-dried raw foods, it can be totally overwhelming for a new puppy parent.
It can. What's important is to do your research and choose a diet that's right for your dog's age, breed, and activity level.
Right.
And don't be afraid to talk to your vet.
They can help you sort through all the options and make the best choices for your furry friend.
Exactly. And remember, even small changes can make a difference.
Okay.
The study showed that even incorporating some raw food, some of that NPMD into a puppy's diet, had positive effects.
So maybe it's not about going all in on one specific type of food, but about finding a balance that works for your dog and their individual needs.
Exactly. It's about making informed choices and understanding that nutrition plays a much bigger role in our pet's health than we might realize.
Well said. And it sounds like there's still so much more to learn about this connection between diet and long-term health.
There always is. The field of canine nutrition is constantly evolving, and research like this helps us refine our understanding and make better recommendations for our dogs.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing that really stood out to me.
Okay.
The idea that otitis is often connected to other health issues,
Right.
like allergies.
That's a crucial point. Otitis is rarely just a simple ear infection.
Okay.
It's often a symptom of a bigger underlying problem.
So if your dog is constantly struggling with ear infections, it might be a sign that something else is going on.
It's like a canary in a coal mine,
Okay.
a warning signal that something in the body is out of balance.
And that's where a holistic approach to pet care comes in, right?
Yes.
Looking at the whole picture and not just treating the symptoms.
Absolutely. Diet, environment, lifestyle, it all plays a role in your dog's overall health and well-being.
You know, my dog has always had sensitive ears. And now I'm wondering if his diet as a puppy might have something to do with it.
It's possible.
This deep dive's been so eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools for keeping my dog healthy and happy.
Knowledge is power, and the more we understand about how our pets' bodies work, the better we can care for them.
Well said.
Yep.
So to sum it all up, what we feed our dogs, especially in those early months, can have a big impact on their ear health and overall well-being.
Absolutely.
It's about choosing a balanced diet, thinking about environmental factors, and working with our vets to make good choices.
Right. And remember, it's never too late to make changes.
Okay.
Even if your dog has a history of ear problems, there's still so much you can do to support their health and make them feel better. So true. This has been fascinating. Now, for those of you listening, if all of this has made you think about your own dog's health, don't worry, there's still more to come.
Yeah.
Part 3 we'll be diving into. You know, it's easy to get lost in all the sciencey stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, our dogs are more than just their biology.
I completely agree. While science can teach us a lot about how our dogs' bodies work,
Mm-hmm.
there's also something to be said for that gut feeling you get when you're caring for your pet.
It's about really tuning into their individual needs,
Right.
picking up on those subtle changes in their behavior,
Yeah.
and just being present with them.
Exactly. That bond you have with your dog is just as important as the food you give them or the environment they live in.
It's that connection that helps us understand what our dogs need to truly thrive.
And that goes beyond just physical health.
Right.
It's about their emotional and mental well-being, too.
So while we've learned a lot about how diet can affect a dog's risk of developing otitis, it's not the whole story. It's just one piece of the puzzle. A holistic approach to pet care means considering all aspects of a dog's life.
Right. Yeah.
Their diet, their environment, their social interactions, and their emotional state.
It's about seeing our dogs as whole beings with their own unique needs and personalities.
Exactly.
And that's where the real magic happens.
It's about creating a life for our dogs that supports their health and happiness in every way.
I love that. This deep dive has been so informative,
It has.
but it's also been a good reminder about how important that connection is, the one we share with our furry friends.
It's a privilege to share our lives with these amazing creatures, and the more we learn, the better we can take care of them.
So to all the dog owners out there, keep learning, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep loving those pups.
And remember, every dog is an individual, so what works for one might not work for another.
Right.
It's about figuring out what's best for your dog and appreciating all the joy they bring into your life.
That's it for this deep dive into the world of dog ear health and the surprising role that diet can play.
It's been fun.
We hope you learned a thing or two, and maybe even got a little inspired to look at your own dog's health in a new way. Until next time, keep those tails wagging.